Hello everybody and welcome back to the Panel by Panel Comics YouTube channel with me, your host Jay. Today is my Panel by Panel comic review. We have 18 books to talk about, so let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel, please go ahead and hit that like button and the subscribe button as well, as we are still on the ride to 80 subscribers. We're nearly there, so please go ahead, hit that subscribe button and join the journey. Now, it's going to be pretty quick going through these books since we have 18 of them, and I don't want this video to be 3 hours long. So we have, coming in at 18, The New Titans. This was a pretty disappointing book, and I'm definitely dropping this title after this issue. I gate tape Rumble a couple issues, trying to reel me in, and I just didn't like the story. The whole Cyborg stuff didn't connect with me, maybe because I'm not the biggest fan of the Cyborg character, or whatever it was. This story is basically just trying to get the New Titans out of the evil Cyborg. And is Cyborg still a friendly person? Does he have some evil plans up his sleeve? Who knows? The best part of this book was this 2-page spread where they said Titans together. It looked really cool, but overall, Titans for me, unfortunately, is going to be a D. Not a book I will be continuing to pick up. Next, another book I will be dropping, unfortunately an Ignition Press book. This is Everyone Loves a Jewel Thief, issue number 2. This continues with the story of the gang, just trying to figure out how they're going to complete the heist. How are they going to get the funding for it? The main character is all around his group, his D&D group, trying to figure out how to do this, and then he ends up getting to fund it by begging his wife for the money. Now, this story, yet again, just did not gravitate to me. I didn't like the direction it was going. The artwork is always going to be solid with Aaron Campbell, but for me personally, Everyone Loves a Jewel Thief, coming in at 17th, is a C-, and I'm going to be dropping that book. Next, another book I am going to be dropping. We have Deathstroke the Terminator, issue 3. This is 32 pages for $4. Now, this book continued with Deathstroke trying to get away from Deathblow and Deadshot, and they're all talking about how he isn't following his own rules that he set for whatever the Assassins Guild that he created and established a rule set many years ago. There's Deadshot there, Captain Boomerang, Cheshire, Drakon, Orphan, Black Spider, KG Beast, Merlin. Basically, it just showed the whole organization and how they created these rules long time ago. The artwork is always going to be solid, but the story itself did feel really repetitive, and yet again the lettering is so tiny, and for somebody that has relatively good eyes, I still struggle to read at some parts of this book. The art is always going to be good from Carmine Di Giamonico, but Tony Fleecs, in my opinion, has not created an intriguing story enough for me, and that's why Deathstroke only gets a C+. It's still a solid book, but since I'm starting to have to cut some books off my list, Deathstroke is unfortunately going to have to be one of those books. Next, coming in at 15th place, we have Lobo, issue number 3. Now, this was a good book. I'm always going to pick up Lobo. 1, I love Scotty Young. 2, Jorge Corona is my favorite artist right now. And this one is definitely more of a filler story, which kind of sucks because it's in issue 3. This is Lobo getting a psych eval because of the whole convergence of the two companies combining and one taking over the other, the merger, and they have to do a psych eval on Lobo. So you find out how he became the person that he is, why he took over Zarnia, and just all the craziness he got up to there as a child, stealing dolphins, creating chaos, making everybody's life worse, and how he ultimately led to the end of their race. He met this Mauve Lantern, and he took advantage of him, taking his ring, and then creating absolute chaos on Zarnia. Then that led to a Green Lantern having to come through and take the ring from him and take everything away. At the end of the day, Lobo said, screw this, I don't care about this eval, that's a big nope. But we're going to get Lobo versus Supergirl in the next issue. So if you're looking forward to that, I know I personally am. That's why Lobo is still a solid enough read for me, and it's worthy of a B. So I would say keep reading Lobo. Next, in 14th place, it's only this low because I didn't read the prior issues to it. It probably would have been higher if I knew more of the backstory, but I decided to pick it up because it's a new jumping on point. This is Rockefellers, issue number 0. Very intriguing book by Peter J. Tomasi and Ghost Machine. If you like a lot of Ghost Machine books, this one's probably right up your alley. You get the whole family, the Rockefellers, coming to what looks to be a certain type of current day, as in 2026. They're confused by how we still use oil, how we still use fossil fuels, how everything is just so old school to them. If you don't know, the Rockefellers are this time traveling family, and they get stuck in this time after trying to escape from their sister. It all felt weird to them. And then they kind of go against, I guess, this gang that kind of, well, they tried to rob them. Did not go well for the bunch of stragglers. And now you just have the two kids trying to adapt to the current day climate of being children, eating 29 hot dogs and doing all this stuff. The dad has like a mental breakdown after he feels like he's not doing enough as a dad, not keeping his family safe, wasn't enough to keep his mom safe. And then you see at the end of the day, a helicopter went down. They think that they caused it, but you probably will learn that who the actual culprit was for it. The mom's going to end up becoming a pilot for this dude, but Rockefellers is intriguing enough for me to continue to read it, and it's worthy enough of a B. It does come in a bit lower on this list, 14th, but Who Are the Unbelievables? It looks to be an intriguing series from Ghost Machine, or an interesting story. Next, we go over to Marvel. We have the Fantastic Four. This is issue number 11, kind of a filler story establishing who are the Future Foundation. Now, this continues. Also, is 40 pages for $6. That's why it's kind of lower on my list, because typically Fantastic Four is only $4, so it gets a $2 jump, and that's why it's a little higher on my list, or a little lower on my list technically, because it's not worthy of $6 in my opinion. It's a typical Fantastic Four story. You get some debacles, and you consistently see the anger continue to be a major point of all 4 of the Fantastic Four members. And Benjamin Grimm, the Thing, is like, why are we acting like this? And then he remembers all the way back in 1965 when the Fantastic Four Annual came out. Oh yeah, there's an emotion charger. And whoever this is using it. And they're all like, oh. And the artwork is solid. This is probably the best part whenever they all realize, oh, he's probably right. And they change their emotions to actually be resolve and feel contentness. And then they ended up beating the guy. It ended up being the Monocle, just like a lower level villain who they fought way back in the day. They all changed and they beat it, but they're all worried about Doctor Doom's technology being sold on the dark web. The Fantastic Four then give Benjamin Grimm the ability to create the new guidelines for the Future Foundation, and he does a really good job of establishing the new ways of the Future Foundation, how he wants the future to look. I think it was really intriguing, really emotional. It definitely makes you feel for Benjamin Grimm. I think he might be my favorite Fantastic Four member, right just ahead of Sue Storm. But it was really good. The Thing, always a fun character to read. The end story was kind of whatever, but the Fantastic Four for me comes in at 13th place as a B. Next, we go over to Image Comics. We have Narco. This is issue number 3. 32 pages for $4. This is a good book. Marcus continues to try to solve the murder of his beloved, not girlfriend, but he was going to go on a date with her, and he feels like he's responsible for it. So he tries to find out some extra clues, goes into her apartment, breaks in, and then ultimately the cops show up and like, hey, what are you doing here? The female officer then shows up, and she feels like, oh, maybe a piece of evidence went missing. Maybe we missed something, and you're here to get it back because you're the one that killed him, or killed her. And then they take him back to the station. The guy cop is actually very friendly with Marcus. The female is having none of it. But the guy's like, well, she's actually really good. She doesn't worry about other people. He's a little disappointed that she keeps trying to pin it on Marcus, because he knows, or he has a very good feeling that it's not Marcus. So then they try to figure out who it is. Then the police officer shows back up to Marcus's place with all his friends there, and he gives them this piece of evidence where it shows that his best friend Case was actually in love with the girl before Marcus and the girl were a thing. So maybe he killed her out of jealousy. Maybe he did that. And then Marcus shows up to Case's house and he gets into him, rips into him, and then he passes out like he does because he has this form of narcolepsy where if his blood pressure gets too high, he passes out. And then he wakes up with Case's like having a bloody knife right on top of him. He's like, hey, chill out. I was just cooking breakfast. You really think I would do that? And then he doesn't know who he can trust. And he feels all alone. And it's really sad at the end, but you kind of feel for the Marcus character. Narcos, still a really good book, coming in at 12th place. It is a solid B. Next, a book that was pretty mediocre. We have Venom, issue 258. This is 32 pages for $5. Felt like Al Ewing didn't know what to do with this issue. There was a funeral, MJ telling Dylan it's not your fault, and if you ever need somebody, I'm here. And that was the ultimate story of that little section. Then you have Peter and MJ going on a talk, basically saying, you're my best friend, I'm going to love you forever, and I'll always be here for you. Maybe something will happen down the line between us again romantically. Right now, I'm just being me, and I'm still learning who I am. I'm still reeling from the loss of Paul because I thought that you were dead. I put in my mind, after 2 years, you're not going to be here. Why hasn't he come back for me? He must be dead then if I'm still here. Which makes sense. That's a very fair feeling for MJ to hold. And then Spider-Man and Venom have a talk. They have a little bit of a collision course, I guess you could say, because Peter feels like Venom was the one that ended up killing Torment. Because, spoiler warning, at the end of Death Spiral, MJ/Venom throw Torment off a cliff. And they had this whole conversation of like, I think it was a mixture of both of us, because even though you might have been the one that was holding him off the edge, I might have been the one to let go of the grip. And I think that's fair. I think they both had a pretty valid reason for wanting to kill them. Because they wanted their aunt to be safe, they didn't want the killing to continue. And then at the very end, we get Femme Venom. MJ becomes the Femme Venom, and it looks really cool. Venom, for me though, the overall story was pretty boring. Not a whole lot of action. I'm expecting a little more, but we'll see where Venom goes. It was still a solid B. Next, a book that actually really surprised me this week. We have Neighborhood Watch, issue number 2, 32 pages for $5. Now, this book kind of starts off interesting because it picks up right where we left off with them picking up Jill or Cassie, and we find out that the character that was shot lived a double life. It was the same person. The only reason they thought it was a different person is because they were living one way in one neighborhood and one way in the other neighborhood. Sorry for my hair if that's triggering you. It won't go down. It's just one of those hair days. But anyways, they find out that she lived 2 lives. It was Cassie and it was Jill. Really intriguing. You get more of an insight into the character and what she went through, and also with the one of the main characters, not Val, but the other one. She had romantic feelings for her. It was sorry, I'm trying to remember what her name was. But anyways, they try to find out what was going on at Jill's place, or Cassie's. And she finds this Open Arms Collective book in her house. She waited for the husband to leave, who's a police officer. Then he comes back home early. They have a quick talk, and he's like, hey. Also, at the same time, while Val is having a talk with Cassie's daughter, who left their house at 16, but came back because her mother, who she finds out Val knows that she lived a double life, but she doesn't know how Val knows that she lived a double life. She finds out that, well, the officer wasn't exactly the best husband to her. And then you see the romanticness right there in the bottom corner. Apparently Cassie and the female character had a relationship. Really intriguing, and it kind of leaves you thinking maybe the officer was up to something, and it definitely leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, or maybe you think that the officer did something, but also it kind of shows you what Jill was doing the whole time. She kind of created this map, had a photo of Val as a mugshot of Val, And you want to know more about this Jill/Cassie character. I don't know what to call her because she went by both names. I think she was going to go full-time into Cassie because she bought a new house fully on Val's side with the Open Arms Collective, and she was going to leave her husband. Maybe that's even more of a reason to think that the husband killed her. Who knows? But Neighborhood Watch for me was a solid B+. Now, getting inside the top 10, we have G.I. Joe issue number 9. This is 32 pages for $4. Joshua Williamson continuing to do a fantastic job. We get some Cobra Law and Deathstroke, I guess, intenseness, as Deathstroke still feels combative to taking orders from Commander Cobra or Cobra Commander. We get some insight into Risk and why he feels kind of some stress because he led his battalion or his group to their deaths, and he feels very responsible for that, which he probably definitely should. And then they find out, after going into Badikistan, the G.I. Joes with Risk are still looking for Energon. They're on this mission to find Energon, and who do they find there? They find Deathstroke and his cronies also looking for Energon. So now as they continue, there was like this monster that came up, and who knows what was going on, but it looks really intriguing. And you find out the person that was creating this monster, or this animated monster, whoever it was actually, as we find out here, Crystal Ball. And Crystal Ball is the one in Badikistan who has a lot of control of this Energon, and he's going after Risk and the rest of the G.I. Joes and Cobra Law. Really intriguing, gets you set for the next little story arc with the G.I. Joes. That's why it comes in as a B+ on my list at number 9. Next, we go over to Ignition Press and Murder Podcast, coming in at 8th place, probably one of the highest ratings I've had it in quite a long time. It was a really good book. This is the penultimate issue because issue 8 is the finale. We learn more about the two people who came up with the Death Sounds podcast and how they came to be. They're looking for this Cassie character, trying to find this Audrey Penn murder and create a story about it. So they slowly go through the city where it happened, which I believe was called Solitude, and they find the story. They have these weird things happen to them. This Clarence character have like a certain spell or start spewing this nonsense to them that they get really worried about. And then they get abducted and they find out that the senator is behind it all. Really intriguing. You find out who the main character is, who's the one behind everything, and what happens to the people who created the podcast and how important are they in the finale issue. Really good book from Jeremy Haun. Murder Podcast for me was a solid B+. Next, coming in at 7th place, we have The Amazing Spider-Man. This is issue number 29, 32 pages for $5. The art from Pete Woods in this issue was pretty solid. Peter was really lonely in this issue because all his friends that he was trying to make plans with, they all either canceled or were busy. And he ends up doing this training with Daredevil. But ultimately, he gets into this fight with Brian Naring. I do want to say real quick, I do not like the way that he drew, Pete Woods draws Aunt May. I think it looks really weird. I don't know. I think that was probably my least favorite part of the book, was the way that he drew Aunt May. Other than that, though, the art was pretty alright. Brian Naring invites Peter Parker to this, well, we come to find out that it was Brian that invited him to this job party or whatever it was. He shows up at this Whimsy's Wonderful Pizza Adventure, and you find out Brian has these powers, the spore powers, that whatever he says, some particles come out of his breath, and people will do whatever he does. So Peter tries to fight it as much as he possibly can. He tries to hold back. I think this was a really good page right here where it's a really good close-up of Peter, almost like it's an actual camera shot. But Brian trying to tell Peter who he is, why did he do this? Just tell us what you know, Peter. Why did you birth us? Why did you make us do this? And it's really the spores talking to Peter, trying to get him to convince him to tell him why he did it. Even though Brian's not taking the Ben Reilly stuff, Peter punches Brian, and you find out that he's basically not even Brian anymore. He's just entirely Spore, and I can't wait to see where that goes with the next issues of Amazing Spider-Man. That's why it comes in at 7th place as a B+. Next, another Marvel book. We have The Punisher. This is issue number 4, 32 pages for $5. Now, we get Frank Castle in this issue kind of becoming the Punisher. And also, we get some Jigsaw just terrorizing these people, just trying to become more of the kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. Meanwhile, Frank Castle is going on a rampage, trying to find out who's doing all this, who's killing all these people, and he's going about his business however he needs to. We also get more of the Madeline story, her becoming potentially a news anchor at the news job that she wanted all along, but the person that hires her, it looks like it's Jigsaw, the one that's making her the news anchor, hiring her, trying to have his control on the city, and maybe he's going to use her as a voice for the people, as a voice in the news organization to make him look good. Who knows where that's going to go? But then we get some more Frank Castle interrogating, becoming the Punisher. After he regained his memories with the memory shot in the previous issue, still Frank trying to be Frank. And it was really good. We get some Tombstone. Maybe he's going to break out. Who knows? But Tombstone introducing into this series as a character outside of jail would just add even more craziness to it. But it looks like in the next issue, we're going to get the Punisher and Jigsaw squaring off. And who knows what's going to happen in that. Really good book. Punisher for me was a solid B+. Next, kicking off the top 5, we have The End of Life, issue number 4, kicking off the top 5. I don't know if I just said that. Anyways, issue number 4, 32 pages for $4. We get the father of Eddie Stallion getting interrogated by Jathar, basically explaining to him, because we find out that he was one of the original members of the Menagerie and one of the original members that created the code and everything behind it. And we find out that it was all created just by a group in the military, just trying to do their thing. Eddie also is trying to really debate if he should just leave. He doesn't care about George, the father, and he just wants to leave because the Menagerie are after him. He doesn't know why he cares about this small town. But you slowly learn through George just the whole story of how the Menagerie came to be, why he's not a man to be messed with, but he knows that no matter what, he got extremely reliable ways to get intel, and it doesn't take long before they all figure out what's happening and they start to scurry like roaches. But roaches can't hide from an exterminator. The ones holed up inside, I set their buildings on fire. If someone ran out, I killed them. If firefighters came to put my fire out, I killed them too. If they hid underground, I sealed them in. I saved the leader for last. You do that so they can suffer, so they can see their empire fall, to see their men die. 100 dead hedgehogs right into his heart. And then Jathar makes the call. He lies to his boss, and he's like, yeah, George isn't here, but they do it on the details that they can have a showdown. Jathar is like, well, I don't know if you want to do that. I'm one of the deadliest gunmen in here. Part of the Menagerie. I am the most deadly. And George and Jathar have a shoot off. They both connect, but George makes contact right through the eye of Jathar, whereas George shoots, or Jathar makes contact with George on the upper chest region. Who knows what's going to happen with George? Eddie comes and saves the gas station once again, because this bear ends up being a really idiotic character, and he shoots him one shot. It doesn't matter, but you find out that the person came to take somebody very special to Eddie, who he doesn't realize why he cares so much. But you're starting to see some more emotion come out of Eddie, starting to see why he cares about these people even more so. End of Life, such a good book by Kyle Starks and Steve Pugh. Highly recommend. It is a B+. Next, we have Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon. This is issue number 4, the finale issue for this little mini series before we get to Armageddon. Now, this is a solid book, $6. We learn more about Coulson and how he came to be. We also see some of Tyler and him just freaking out, trying to get to the main character of Mr. Pruitt. The origin boxes were pretty important in this series as well. Coulson does a great job of fighting Nuke, trying to get into the emotions of Nuke, make him feel like, hey, you're being used. You need to become the person that you're supposed to be. I'm going to go save that boy. You can either go or you can join me, but I'm not going to let you stop me, Frank. And that really holds Nuke to a certain stopping point and makes him really think about what he's doing. After he just saw a recreation of him, a clone of him, he's like, what is going on? Wolverine goes in, tries to stop Pruitt as well, but then you see he created a new batch of super soldiers, and they're all trying to help Mr. Pruitt kill Logan and Coulson and Tyler. And they finally make their escape, but Coulson gets shot, and you try to find out, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to him? This was a really good point in the book, and you'll find out what happens to Coulson after an origin box comes near, and Coulson's like, you don't want to use that on me. I'm not worth it. But did Logan use it on him? Well, you're going to have to read the book to find out. A really, really good book. Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon keeps getting me prepared for the Armageddon event coming in only a couple weeks. This is a solid B+. Next, we have Absolute Flash kicking off the top 3, issue 15. Now, this is a 32-page, $5 comic book. We get some insight into the Star Labs and basically what's going on and what created the whole still point. We get some of Captain Atom, or I assume going to be Captain Atom, Ray Palmer. We get to see a future Wally as he comes to the past to warn Wally, current day, hey, you need to stop looking for your dad. This isn't a dream, we're really here. The Black Flash that you just saw, that purple thing that I just showed y'all, was death itself. We did it, Wally. We're going to set it free. But we can still change it. You have to stop looking for your dad. And then young Wally says, I'm going to find dad. Nothing is going to stop that. The future Wally says, I can't stop us. I can only show you what it will cost. And then the past Barry says, no, wait, you can't just... And then you come to find out it kind of was a dream, because he wakes up naked, or not naked, but with a t-shirt and underwear on in the streets. He's like, I can't let that happen. I think I was somewhere else. I saw something that hasn't happened yet. No, and it's time glitches. Time has some weird connection with my powers. It happened before, but this was different. And he's going to go to Star Labs. Linda's like, no, you're going to take me with you. You're going to take me with you. And Wally's like, no, I cannot get you hurt. You matter too much to me. Linda gets kind of offended by that. You get an update on the Rogues, what's going on with them, who's potentially going to be hiring them. Also, maybe some romance going on inside the Rogues. Interesting to find out, but Wally also learns the ability to phase, which I thought was really cool, just randomly putting that in this issue. He gets to Star Labs, he sees Ray Palmer, and you find out some of the research that happened of the Flash before they got there, what Still Point was, what they were looking for. An Absolute Flash is an absolute banger. This is an A- comic book. Such a good read every single month that it comes out. Jeff Lemire's really starting to cook. It used to be kind of underrated for me, but now it's starting to become one of the better Absolute books going. What a book. The top 2, we have Alias, a Jessica Jones story. This comes in as an A- comic book, 32 pages for $5. This is just Jessica having, at the initial point, a fight with Typhoid Mary before the postcard king or whatever shows her something, makes her calm down, and they finally stop fighting. She turns into Mary, not Typhoid Mary, Mary, because if you did not know, Typhoid Mary, that we know her as, has multiple personalities and multiple personality disorder. And they figure it all out, they're all good. She ends up killing the postcard king, Typhoid Mary does, whenever she comes back to who she is. They continue on with their investigation. It takes them to this butcher shop that we learn ends up blowing up as we get a continuation of the current trial that is actually happening. This is kind of like a recollection of what has happened before this trial. That's what this book is focused on. Because initially Jessica Jones, she's a private investigator. She can't do her job because Luke Cage is the mayor. That gets him into trouble. She can't stop doing what she wants, especially after she is a witness to a murder and wants to solve who did it and why it happened. So they go to the butcher shop. Jessica Jones does some intriguing skills into the background, and she finds this limbless body, and come to find out that is the person that was telling the postcard king what to do. And Jessica Jones is now one step closer to solving her murder that she initially was on the search for. Really good book. Jessica Jones, always a great book. Humphries doing a fantastic job. That's why it is an A- comic book, but it was not pick of the week. It's also not Absolute Green Arrow. That's why it's not featured in this episode. Instead, top pick goes to American Caper, issue number 7, 32 pages for $5. This book is just, there's something about it. I just love it so much. It doesn't matter if there's action in it, if there's not action in it. Just the story, the character development in this story, just so good. You learn more about the two prisoners that we saw in the previous issue. You learn how they broke out of prison, why they broke out of prison, and where they're going. They were prisoners out in West Texas. You learn that one was a pretty bad gang person. One was just there for, I believe, nothing too serious. Clint Dawson, the one with long hair, he shoots a man in the bar and he gets arrested for, I believe, nearly or attempted murder. The other one, Sonny McBride, is a drug mule, a hustler, and he's just an armed robbery. That's why he's, arrested. So you see how they became together. You see how the FBI is starting to get pieces put together. This issue puts everything really well together. You really see the full circle of the story start to come together in this issue. You see how they ended up breaking out the, I guess, smaller guy, the smaller boyfriend. He was the one that basically pressured this cop or lured her in, flirted with her enough to help him escape. Sonny, he did whatever it took, whether that was sex, whether that was flirting, whether that was anything. And then the other one gets pretty pissed. He says, "I didn't tell you to do that. Wash that stink off. Get in the laundry. I don't care. I need that stench off of you," because he feels that he is his property. Because they are both in a gay romantic relationship as well. He then, after they go out for this mining thing, takes the female out to an open area, and that's whenever she gets whacked over the head, and he still can't believe what he did to her, how they were about to do it again. She gets whacked over the head, put over her horse, and they smack the horse to race back over to wherever the prisoners are. Then they go to this gas station, and at the gas station, the guy that was initially there to traffic these people from Mexico, I assume, over the border, they whack him over the head, most likely kill him, and they see all the people in the back, and you find out that's how that van got to Wyoming. That's how all the other stuff happened as well. And you get an update on Orson's life, the neighbor to William and Marnie, what's going on with them. The daughter comes to visit William and Marnie, and he asks for help with keys, and also she's going to go on a run in for some groceries. Would he want anything? Who knows? Marnie and her little fling have a section where Marnie's kind of contemplating everything. She's like, I'm not confused about this. It's just dealing with my husband. And then the dude says, "Let me get this straight. Your husband, this is a goddamn war we're fighting for. The soul of the planet, no less. And you're letting this man steal from us, your husband. We could use that money to save civilization. Instead, according to you, he's wasting it on boozing, gambling, and whores." "Whores?" she says. She's like, "What? Whores?" And he says, "Probably, they always do. That's not the point. The point is, Marnie, I think I'm wasting my time with you. I see that now. You're just weak, a patsy, his patsy." He basically is just making her feel bad, trying to manipulate her into killing her husband so that he can get all the money. Orson is really starting to feel bad. He's hoping that this is the last person that he had to murder. Who knows? And then he talks about his moment at Marty Blowman's house, how he's just on drugs all the time. got a call from William, his neighbor, William Hamilton. And then you get an update on William after he comes back home. Marnie confronts him, asking, "Where's our effing money, William? It's all gone." And he's like, "Where are you? Have you been drinking?" And she's like, "Where's our money? You said you'd given up gambling, you liar." She points a gun at him, and it gets very intense. She's like, "For our children," as she's pointing a gun at William's head. But as he's claiming, "I love you, I love you," the sister comes home, or not the sister, their daughter comes home. Surprise. She pulls the gun away. You see tears coming from Marnie's eyes. And this was just such a good issue. The FBI guys, like, what in the world is wrong with this family? It's such a great book. I cannot recommend this book any higher. It is probably my personal favorite book on the local comic shelf. Every single month it comes out, even more so than Absolute Batman. It's just so different, so unique. The storytelling is amazing. The character development is amazing. And it really puts you in to the world of Verona, Wyoming, or wherever the story is taking place. That's why it is my pick of the week. But guys, let me know down in the comments what y'all's pick of the week is. And remember, keep reading those comics panel by panel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.